Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. This is Dennis coming to you from a quite stormy Monday night here in Greece. And I wish today's show could have been more positive. I wish today's show could have been more towards honoring yesterday's memorial. But sadly, that's not going to be the majority of the show. I really wish it was, but it's not going to be. As of course, the derby ended in a way where it shouldn't have, with us losing to Panathinaikos 0-1, hands down, basically. But we'll get into that in a bit. I just want to make sure that this gets up, that I am super happy that it's 7, that the fans in general, the entire Olympiacos family, and then some, for the past 2 days, have treated the whole memorial with the uttermost respect. I am also super happy that the majority of opposition fans as well have treated the memorial with the uttermost respect, especially PAO fans, who of course had their own new tragedy just a couple of weeks ago now. So they connected more with the memorial than ever, honestly, which makes total sense. I just want to say that those lost souls will never be forgotten by anyone, and that anyone who dared use the memorial, who dared use the memory of just these people that died for the love of the team, for bragging rights, should truly just be ashamed of themselves. Now, let's slowly but surely get into the football, as positive as it may not have been. The worrying image in the derbies continues. The worrying signs in domestic football continue to show, as we now drop another derby, leaving us at just 1 win from this season's derbies. And a night that honestly left a lot of questions, a night that left a lot of unanswered questions at that, and something that shouldn't have even happened. Like, let's be honest, you're playing a Panathinaikos team that's perhaps the worst they've been in many years, and that in and of itself says enough. You're facing a Panathinaikos team that's switched coaches faster than you can make substitutions in a game. And you're facing a Panathinaikos team with no true plan. Of course, the current coach is a legend of football, is someone that has tried to put, to make just the bunch that the current Panathinaikos football team is into a functioning team, to say the least. And you go into it knowing how they play, knowing what to expect. You have a Panathinaikos that knew what can be taken advantage of in regards to our style of play. Hence why they ended the game with 30% of the possession, but 3 big chances out of their 8 total shots. They sat back, they attacked us on the counter, they scored from the counter, and we couldn't really do a single thing. Of course, something you can just go and start with is the starting 11, which is, it will go to this chapter as well, like Mendilibar and his choices yesterday, because again, the harsh judgment that's been thrown Mendilibar's way has been over exaggerated. People expected, especially some journalists and stuff, to put full blame on Mendy, which sadly happened. And I am of the opinion, and I've said it before, I wrote it yesterday, no one stands above being criticized. No one is flawless. No one can just go out there and have a mistake-free game. And that's what happened. It was a game filled with necessary criticism. But that mindset of there always having to be a scapegoat is unbelievable. And I'm not even talking about journalists and stuff. We know what those talks entail, why they happen. Mendy, to focus on him specifically for now, didn't approach the game like he should have. That's a given, and that was shown by the result as well. And I will try and preface it like a tweet I saw, that Mendy's faults in regards to this result and stuff that's happened in general in domestic competitions, especially the SLGR, is just a tree, and then there's the forest. But to focus more on the Pana game. Of course, the starting 11 was Solakis under the 6, Costiña, Rechos, Julian Biangon, and Francisco Ortega. Then it was the 2 CDMs of Lolo Scipioni and Santiago Ese. Then it was Rodinei down the right, Mehdi Taremi, that was a bit of a false 9/second striker. And then down the left was Dani Podence, and up top was Ayub El Gabi. How do I actually go on and put this? You can't expect a team like Panathinaikos to be beaten with a system like the 4-4-2/4-2-3-1 that was played yesterday, and through the non-direct attack. That can't happen. Of course, you had the players just. I think the word underperforming is a bit of an understatement. I really think that the word underperforming is a bit of an understatement as things stand. And Mendy, I'm not expecting Mendilibar to just go in there and play right back. But stuff perhaps could have been treated a bit differently in regards to the game plan. But we go to the more general image, the more general sphere of stuff. And then we look at the squad list, in which you are now forced to choose between 7 foreigners, those of Ayoub El Kabi, Mehdi Taremi, Clayton, Andre Luiz, Rodinei, Bruno, and I am forgetting someone else. I don't. Why am I forgetting someone else? Let me actually make sure. I will actually go and Google that. I feel like I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting someone. But yeah, you have a foreigner problem in the squad itself. And I don't exactly know how we came to that. I don't know how it happened. I don't know why we are now forced to cut 2 people out of the squad every single time. Let me actually say the names just to make sure I didn't forget anybody. It's Bruno, it's Francisco Ortega, it's Rodinei, it is, as mentioned, Andre Luiz, it's Clayton, it's Ayoub El Kabi, and it's Mehdi Taremi. So you've now, with how January went, with what happened, you have now put your coach in a position to have to cut one of his fullbacks every single time in the league, and either one of his wingers, which, speaking of clear out and out wingers, we have 3. We have Andre Luiz, Dani Podence, and Zelson, or one of his forwards, which again, we have 3 forwards, yes, and they're all 3 of immense quality, then that's not up for discussion by anyone. But all 3 of them count as foreigners, with of course, Ayoub El Kabi being from Morocco, Mehdi Taremi being from Iran, and Clayton being from Brazil, same as Andre Luiz. So you're sitting here just a few games before the playoffs, and you've thrown this problem onto Mendilibar and his team, and you have to pick and choose who plays where. And yesterday, one of the first mistakes happened, and one of the main problems that did get exposed was that. Because you play Rodinei down the right, and you play Dani Podence down the left. In my opinion, as I said, I am gonna throw that on Mendy just a bit, not the squad selection, that's not on him, but playing Rodinei instead of Zelson and not starting Chiquinho and starting both Mehdi and El Kabi, for me was, in hindsight perhaps, but I said that before as well, for me that was a mistake, especially the El Kabi Taremi duo that hasn't really worked before, and both of them get the best out of each other if one replaces the other. Aside that, though, the first problem is that you have to pick and choose your squad list, and you have to leave completely out of the derby, your supposed record signing. Because if the fee is to be believed, Andre Luiz is our record signing. And again, to preface what I'm saying, I am more than happy with both Andre Luiz and Clayton coming in. I'm not going to go back on that. They are two incredible players that deserved to be here. I don't care if they came from Rio Ave, I don't care why, but I'm happy they're here. That's not what should have changed with how planning went. What should have really changed with how planning went is that our left backs shouldn't have both been foreigners. Our three forwards in general shouldn't have all three been foreigners. There was a scenario for Bruno to go after a certain point. And that scenario, of course, got cut as the team interested. Trabzonspor got another left back. We've talked about this. But if that went on to happen, you then go on with way less of a problem in that regard. But yeah, leaving that aside, leaving that completely aside, you then have Pirola's problem. The team needed a centre back. We've said this many a time. The team needed a centre back. And that's not necessarily a quality problem. I'm not going to fully focus on that being a quality problem, even though I will again analyze my point as well as I can. It's more of a quantity problem at this stage, because you're sitting here one injury away from Ruben Vezo having to get playtime. And again, that's nothing on Ruben Vezo himself, but it's clear that he's not in the plans. I think it's crystal clear that Ruben Vezo is not in the plans. And you're one injury away from that. Your starting centre back duo right now is Rechos, that hasn't missed a game, and Julian Biancon. I'm not gonna throw shade on Julian necessarily solo, but except from Rechos himself, the rest of the back line yesterday was horrific. And I saw someone, God, this episode is so chaotic, but I think you all really expected this to be just a big long rant, right? I saw someone blaming Rechos for the goal, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Could Rechos have done better? Yes. But how do you land out of everything that happened before the goal game, which we'll talk about? How do you land on Rechos being solely at fault? Of course, all of you saw the goal, like Pana just passed the ball flawlessly between our defense. And then Taborga, of all players, came one-on-one against Zolakis and threw the ball under his feet and on the back of the net. The team screamed for defensive reinforcement. And you could put out an argument that our backline has been semi-downgraded depth-wise, but I'm not going to stand on that. I am going to stand on that Pirola has been very unlucky and perhaps overworked. Rechos, as I said, hasn't missed a game. Julian is now a regular. And then there's Kalogeropoulos. That's young, strong, and reliable. Well, that's for centre backs. And out of those four, one has been out for about a month, minus him coming back and him getting injured again. And it's not like Retsos hasn't gone down. Like the man's playing at 110%. Knock on wood, an injury is not impossible. And mind you, he's playing with a cast in his arm still. The team screamed of needed reinforcements. But we go back to the game. Let's circle back. The goal goes in, Taborta scores. And then we capitulate. It really felt like we fell apart. It really felt like we fell apart. And looking at the stats, just looking at everything that happened, we had 15 shots. 15! And we created one big chance. And that big chance, of course, was Zelson's myth. How? I think I genuinely and unironically looked at that play about 20 times, and I still haven't figured out how I didn't go in. Mind you, Pantelidis went up the other end and missed as ridiculous of a chance. But that wouldn't have happened if Zelson scored. We are talking about a chance that had an and it got skied. It got completely skied. I'm mad. I'm getting more and more annoyed, and you know why I'm getting more and more annoyed? Because it all starts from a defeat against Panathinaikos that stings in and of itself. A defeat against Panathinaikos, especially a Panathinaikos that's that bad, stings in and of itself. And then you go to the wider picture. It was the first time played at home in 45 years. At the 8th of February, you play against your most historic rivals, and you lose hands down. That gets checked. And then you go with the wider picture. What I talked about earlier. You have one derby win. One. In the entire season. And that derby win came against an Nike that was lost. An Nike, mind you, that's now first. A Nike that will probably drop down to second, but a Nike that's now first in the league. And a Nike that you only drew against. With a lie. And you go on even the wider sphere. I didn't personally say this, but people told me that, and Nikolakopoulos said it as well, that I just took the team to G7 to listen to the boat. Like, it was very Freiburg-ish. That's why Retsos deserves, just moving back to the Retsos point, Retsos deserves the uttermost respect. And I feel like we can make this point every single time. Retsos embodies captainship role better than a lot of people. And that doesn't only go on the good days, it goes on the bad as well. And I applaud Retsos because he's the only one that showed any semblance of being apologetic for the damn result. And again, there's stuff that I probably haven't seen. I'm not saying no to that, and people can easily correct me in the comments. But as far as post-game statements go, to be fair, I haven't seen Mendilibar, but the ones that I have seen have no signs of apology. No sign inside. And that alone is shameful. Not just for a derby loss, but the day in and of itself and the occasion in and of itself. I hesitate to say that there is any saving dragged out of that Messi performance. I would probably shift towards Danny, that was alone up front. He was alone. Danny Podence was alone up front. He had some mistakes, like that cross coming in late on, where he, instead of shooting it immediately, he controlled it and immediately lost the ball. Everyone had mistakes, but Danny showed that he was there. Of course, what I said about Rezzo's Santiese was nowhere near the Ese that he's played like lately, but he was okay-ish. And then Chiquinho, like that's it. Everyone else was something. I mean, Moza and Yusuf Yazizi didn't really have any time to do anything. Everyone is at fault. There is no scapegoat here. The fault falls on people on some people more than it does on others. But everyone is at fault here. No real exceptions. The only people that showed up were the fans. Incredible, Jet 7, in every way, both before the match, both during the match, and very correctly after the match. I don't know what necessarily will happen going forward. There is very important games left. There is games that will define our season in both competitions. As I said, we now stand second with 46 points, Ajax on top with 48, and PAOK with a game less than behind us on 45. And then, of course, it's Olympiacos with 38 and Panathinaikos with 32 with a game less. We can't drop any more points. Next weekend, you have, if I'm not completely mistaken, I'll go check that actually. But I'm pretty sure that next weekend you have PAOK playing AEK when we go away and play at Livadia. And I am spot on. PAOK play AEK. We need to go to Livadia and destroy Olympiacos. As much as I like them, we need to not just go and win, we need to react, we need to go and destroy Olympiacos. We really, really do. Because God forbid, go out to Livadia and drop points, and the PAOK and AEK game has a winner, and then stuff gets even worse. We need to win at Livadia. We need to take it step by step, game by game, and react. We need to react. We need to win. It would be the ideal scenario to say that I wasn't worried, about the league sleeping. But after the continuous performances for all the factors that we mentioned, like that in the derby, I am a tiny bit worried. Can the boys go out and just react with wins and wins and wins? Yes. Will they? God knows. If any team can, it's Olympiacos. Of course, Olympiacos, then the very important game against Leverkusen, that, again, that's a discrepancy as well. Our style of football, Mendy's style of football, and the players that are here perform so well in Europe, but have as much trouble as we've seen domestically. It feels like two different teams sometimes. So, yeah, in a matter of 4 days, we played two very important games. Then Panathinaikos, which should be ideally one of our most dominant wins of the season. Then the reverse leg, and then the remaining league games of the regular season, of course, subject to change scheduling, given what we do against Leverkusen, is Panathinaikos away, PAOK, the season-defining, perhaps, derby against PAOK, OFI away, which again is not an easy game, and I'll at home right before we enter the playoffs. The team needs to sit down as a whole and work, and more work. I really planned to be more organized today. I didn't mean to just rant for 33 minutes. But yeah, that's about it from me today. Again, that's the fans, our co-fans, the members of the Red and White family that were lost. Because 45 years ago will never be forgotten. That's a statement to keep. Another statement to keep is last night's Super Bowl halftime show motto that the only thing stronger than hate is love, with everything going on. And better stuff is coming. Today was a bit unorganized. Today turned out to be a bit rant-full. I hope you all enjoyed. Drop your comments below. I'm finalizing some stuff. I'm still in the process of getting my main Instagram account back. Of course, the link to the one that has been running for a few weeks now is below. With the others, like, subscribe as well if you like what you see, as always. And I'll see you all probably on Thursday after the game, if nothing else happens before then. A lot of very fun plans getting finalized. And to close off on a more happy note, massive congratulations to our handball team for lifting the Greek Cup and adding title number 340 to the biggest multi-sport organization in the world. Thank you all for all your support. Thank you very much.